Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to Overhead Recipes. In this episode, we will cover some beginner first timer owners of Breville Barista Express tips and tricks. I hope you like this episode as I think it will really help you enjoy the machine a lot more than if you didn't. Again, please help the channel out by commenting, liking, and subscribing. We only have around 1 to 5% of people watching these videos who are actually subscribed, which is kind of surprising, but any form of support will be greatly appreciated. So let's go ahead and talk about this week's video. Oh, by the way, I hope the audio for this video is a lot better than the other ones. I've had a lot of comments, well-meaning, I know, saying that the audio sucks. It sounds like I'm in the bath. I'm eating the mic, or I'm popping everything left and right. And I honestly know that is going on. I just didn't get to figure it out. So I hope this video's audio is a lot better. Again, I welcome all the comments and all the improvements that you guys suggest for the channel. I'm pretty new at this, so again, without further ado, let's move forward with the video. Let's start things off with a simple tip, and that is make sure you have adequate water in your water tank. Now, the water tank at the back is more than adequate to make 2 to 4 cups of coffee, including steaming and any purging that you need. But a lot of people tend to ignore it as long as it's still around half or more. And the bottom part of the tank, really the whole inch of it, is really the bare minimum. So if you let it go below that, you're going to be pumping dry air into the pump. It could really affect your machine long term. So just make it a good habit that once it reaches half, have a kettle nearby and fill it up. On to the next tip. It would be make sure your machine is nice and warm. While the Breville machine can technically be ready to go and warm enough in just a couple of minutes, the problem is you're really just having the heating element hot. The rest of the machine isn't, and that's a problem because you really want your entire group head as well as your spout, your portafilter, everything to be warm. Otherwise, when the coffee runs through, it's going to lose a lot of temperature. So make sure your machine is nice and warm. Speaking of warming things up, so the Breville cup warmer on top is borderline useless, so you really need to warm your cup separately. So what I like to do is quite simple. So I run a couple of blank shots to the mugs themselves. What that means is you're just running water through the portafilter without any coffee in it, and that will warm up your cup pretty quickly. Especially if you have 1 or 2 cups on top. You might get some grinds in your mug because of the water, but it's no big deal. Just pour it out when you're ready to pour. And when you just stack the cups on top of each other, there's not a lot of water there, but it'll keep your mugs hot enough until your extraction is ready. The next tip I have is really not a tip, but more of a common sense comment. Most seasoned Breville owners will probably tell you the same thing. The machine comes with 4 different baskets, with this single wall double dose basket being the most commonly used. The machine also comes with this double dose and pressurized basket. What this allows you to do is to use less than fresh coffee. If you're just pretty new at this, you can't go wrong with that one. So those are double dose baskets, but it also comes with these 2 single wall baskets, the same. You got one pressurized and one's not. The problem with these baskets is that they're very, very hard to tamp evenly. As you can see, the shape is kind of conical, so when you put your grinds in, it never really sits flush. It's very hard to distribute evenly to that line. Once you put your tamper in, it has a lot of tendency for it to twist around, and just going to cause a lot of headaches. You're going to witness a lot of channeling and all that stuff. If you're really new at this and you're using less than ideal beans or just using grocery beans, use this double wall pressurized basket. This is totally fine. Again, just use the this single wall double dose basket. I think you're gonna end up using that most often anyway. So the next tip isn't really a tip. It's more like if you want to do it, it's not really necessary. If you take a look at your portafilter, it comes with this black disc inside. What it's supposed to do is when you take a look at those two notches, it's supposed to distribute the extracted coffee more evenly when it comes out of spout. The problem is I don't like it that much for several reasons. And it's actually quite easy to pop off. You just get a fork or a screwdriver or whatever, and you just gently push the tab out and it's just gonna fall off. The main reason why I don't like it is it actually gunks up the edges quite badly. When I use the machine, probably like 8 months in, the amount of residual coffee oils and gunk in between those gaps are just absolutely gross, and I just don't like it. I also feel that it dissipates heat a lot more than just pure metal. So for me, I just chuck it out and I just take it out. For the next point, I really don't know if it's a common problem or not, but it was in mine ever since I got it, is that this spout, the double spout, doesn't really align that well once you lock it in place. I don't know if you can see it from this angle, but with my machine, it's kind of like at the 1 or 2 o'clock and 7 o'clock position, which obviously if I put 2 glasses in, it's not going to work out. I'm not going to be able to distribute the coffee evenly. As you can see, if I put the cups side by side, one will actually end up like spilling all over to the edge because it doesn't align perfectly. So again, this might not be an issue for you, but it's a super easy fix. The knob, the spout is not fixed permanently. It's a thread. So when you're cleaning your machine, and just like the previous clip wherein I took out the black disc, you can just twist and align this, to what you need in terms of angle and go with that. So now let's talk about using your grinder. First of all, grab a weighing scale that offers you a timer as well as 1/10 of a gram of measurement. Use the cover of your hopper, of your grinder, to act as a tray to allow you to scoop the right amount of beans to your extraction every single time. By using the weighing scale to weigh your beans rather than just directly taking the grind out from the hopper, it allows you to become very, very precise and repeatable with your coffee extraction and your recipes. This is really, really important, especially when you starting out, when you're still trying to figure out how much dose you need for this specific type of bean. The weighing scale would really help you out. Again, don't use the hopper as a storage for the beans. It's not meant for that. It's supposed to be just for you to store the beans that you're going to use immediately. So use the dose by measuring it on the weighing scale and pour it into the hopper and then grind your beans out. Alright, after all that setup stuff, let's go ahead and make some coffee. And let's get started with the grinder. So the Breville comes with a 54mm portafilter with a 53.5 basket, if I'm not mistaken. So it is a lot deeper than the usual 58mm baskets. So what a lot of people do is they just set it to double and they try to fill it up. I would like to advise you to don't do that. Set it to single and then turn the timer knob to somewhere around 1 o'clock, 12 o'clock, somewhere around that part. Your goal is to just fill up half of the portafilter, not the entire basket. So as you can see, when you try to grind, even at half, you can see that the distribution of this grinder spout is not that good for this machine. You can see that I'll fill this up half and I'll gently take it out, and you can see that a lot of the coffee is biased towards the front and there's a lot of space at the back. So that if you try to fill that up, when you tamp it down, that means you're not going to get a very even puck surface. You're going to have a lot of gaps at the back and very dense in front. So what you would like to do is, to gently tap the grinds. It allows the grinds to kind of compact itself gently, and it also sets the bed, makes it more even. So when you put it back again and you try to empty the hopper right now, what you're doing is that you're laying it on top of a already flat surface. And when you take out your second dose, you will realize that, even though it's still a little bit front bias, you're going to spill a lot less coffee, and it's actually quite easy for you to distribute it back to the back. So again, you don't, just because it has a double setting doesn't mean you have to set it to double all the time. So you do this technique, tap it gently, allows it to set. It'll trust me, it'll give you a much better temp pressure and a lot less channeling for your coffee extraction. Give it a shot. With this method, you're going to realize that the grind is relatively flat right from the start. You're not going to have a lot of issues trying to level it out before tamping. So with regards to tamping and distribution, I'm not going to use the distribution tool because this is assuming you don't have any of those things. So just try to shake and level things up as best as you can, and then grab the tamper and let the tamper do most of the other work. So you can hold the tamper this way. I like to hold the tamper usually this way, with 3 sides, but you can always use it the standard way like this. It allows you to give relatively even pressure. So what you can do right now is to use the edge of the tamper and just to gently push the sides in. Don't have to dig, you're just getting, some of the excess grinds on the side to go back in the center. You form this little mountain and you gently put the tamper right on top. You don't push it down, you just lay it down so that it will be even. And with both sides of your fingers touching at the edge, push straight down as level as you can. And with this deep basket, you actually need to push it quite hard. Try not to do a lot of the stuff like, polishing it or twisting it around or moving it back to back. Just try not to do any of those things because this deep portafilter basket gets a little bit sensitive in that. So you want to have a nice flat surface. If you get some grinds on the side, that's fine. As long as the surface is nice and compact, you're good to go. All right. So try not to do a lot of, polishing and all that stuff because it's not really that beneficial. You might introduce cracks and channeling into the puck. So the next tip I actually got from Sprometheus. That is to be gentle with your puck. That means after tamping, don't bang it, don't, knock it, don't do any of those things. Just be gentle, align it to those marks. It's there for a reason. So you just align it and hold the machine and twist it to the right. Don't try to act cool and just banging things all around. You're going to damage your puck and your machine. For the next tip, let me introduce you to your coffee making best friend. As always, use a scale. When you're still new, you're probably never gonna nail your recipe perfectly the first couple of times, so the scale will always help you guide what to do next. So when you're using a scale, make sure it's sitting as flush as it can on the surface. You don't want it to be hanging out and it's going to flip over, or you don't want the sides to be touching the edge. I had that problem before. I couldn't tear my scale because it kept on rubbing on the side. So again, whenever you're making your coffee, make sure you put your coffee dead smack in the center of the scale, and that's where you're going to get started. So when it comes to extracting, just make sure your mug is in the middle. Again, it's not touching to the side. You can lift the cup and then lower it just to make sure the spout actually hits the side of the mug a little rather than straight down, so it splashes less. So you tear your scale, make sure you're zeroed out, and you will be using the timer quite often. So once you start your machine, your extraction, you press the timer button. A lot of people argue whether do you start it when you press the button, or do you do it when you start on the first drip. Honestly, as long as you're consistent, it's fine. You use your own scale, but a lot of times I like to do it when I press the extraction button just so that the two are roughly at the same time. So depending on your recipe, you might want to stop your extraction between 25 to 35 seconds. Don't try to think that it's a rule, because it really depends on the coffee, as long as it looks nice and it tastes good. The next tip addresses a very, very common I see on discussion forums, is that people always want to know why their puck is wet whenever they're done with extraction. That means when they're trying to get rid of the puck, it's quite sticky and it's gunky, it looks like mud. There's a really simple solution to that, and Breville actually has the solution up front. And just go ahead and steam your milk, or you do something else. Just give it a couple of seconds for the machine to suck up the excess moisture from top of the puck, and it's going to dry up the puck very nicely. We'll come back and check on the puck later. So now let's talk about steaming milk. This is a very, very common issue that a lot of first-time owners will find out. So they stick the wand into the milk, they turn the steam wand on, and nothing's happening. There's nothing coming out. Or by the time they stick it in, everything starts splashing out. The main reason is our machine does not have a double boiler, neither does it have a heat exchange. So what you really need to do is you want to make sure that hot steam is actually coming out of the machine before you stick your milk in. That means you turn the machine on, you wait for the excess water to come out, and the steam starts coming, and you'll hear the pump making the ticking sounds, like tuck, 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 tuck. That's how it's going to sound. Once you hear that, you're ready to go. Quickly turn the machine off, and before the backflush happens, you start steaming your milk. There's usually like 2 or 3 seconds gap between that. After a while, you'll get very, very used to it. When you do that, you're going to get really nice, powerful, dry steam for your milk, and you start doing your milk frothing. Now this video isn't about steaming milk. We got a couple of those, and I'll put that in the description. But in general, you want to froth your milk up by around 20-25%, and then once you get that, you raise your jug and you let the milk heat up until it reaches around 60 degrees centigrade. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. And when you're done, make sure you keep the wand in the milk until everything stops. Then you lift it up. Otherwise, you're gonna splash air bubbles all over the top of the surf, and it's gonna be messy. Give the wand a wipe, because this wand is not a double wall wand, so you want to make sure that your towel is actually wet. You scrub it really well, and then you give it a quick purge, and that's all there is to it. There's a lot of more things that you can really play with the machine, but we're not going to cover that in this video. I think this bunch of tips are pretty common for new machine owners. I think they should cover pretty well. Oh, remember the puck that we were talking about earlier? Because we already steamed our milk and stuff, the puck has already gone through its drying phase. You can see that how dry this surface is, because the machine was able to extract the excess moisture on top. So when I tap this out in my I get a really, really clean puck, right? So you just stick it back in, run some water in, and you're ready for the next one, for your next extraction, and you're good to go. That's really just how easy it is. Breville, did a really good job, anticipating all these things. So I hope all these tips are helpful to you. I know they're not all encompassing. It's not designed to be. It's just there to minimize your headache so that it allows you to have more fun with your machine. It'll take a lot of practice. I mean, I've had the machine for over 3 years now. I'm still learning the little quirks about it, especially like making more consecutive shots and serving coffee and those kind of things. Just enjoy the process, and I hope you like this video. Again, if you enjoyed this, give this video a thumbs up. It will really help me out. It'll help the algorithm, it'll help the channel grow, it will help pay some bills. I really, really appreciate it. Again, if you want to see other videos, drop the comment. Let me know what you think. If you think I should add more stuff, I should take out some stuff. And I hope the improvement in the audio is a little better. I'll continue to work on it. So again, drop any comment you like. I appreciate you all, and have a great day.